Hey YouTube, welcome back to the BladesIIB shop and what should be a very quick project video and a little bit more of a product review type video. I've had this Machinist Toolbox for nearly 30 years and I think the gentleman that I bought it from had it for at least 10 or 15 years before that. So it has been a good toolbox. This is a Beach company out of Canada. I used to make Machinist toolboxes years ago. So still works very well. It's just a little small. I always wanted to go to the larger one. So finally broke down, bought a Kennedy toolbox. I got a bottom and I got the top being a little bit larger. This one's only 8.5 inches deep. I went with the 12.5 inch deep toolbox, and it's also 26 inches wide where this one's only 20. Gained quite a bit of space plus a couple extra drawers on the bottom. It's gonna be, I think, gonna help me out pretty well. We're gonna take a look at the footprint it's gonna take up on top of this roller cabinet that I have it on, and because of how I have this one mounted, I actually am not gonna lose very much space, gain more drawers, and in my tiny one-car garage shop, I need to maximize all the space that I can. So getting a few more of my machinist tools in this toolbox on top of this cabinet going to help me out quite a bit, clean out another drawer that I have and give me some more good operational space. So that's the goal. To get this on here, I'm going to go ahead and put some aluminum trim around the top of my bench to keep the box from sliding off, and that's really the project aspect of it. And then we'll do a bit of a review on this new Kennedy toolbox. I know I read the reviews, pretty mixed bag out there. A lot of great reviews on the older Kennedy toolboxes. Some of the newer ones don't get very good reviews. They don't have roller ball slides. They've got the metal friction ones. But again, this toolbox is over 40 years old. And I mean, I've been quite happy with how these drawers slide. They seem to work quite well. You're not putting tons of weight in here usually in your machinist toolbox. So I think the friction slides are going to be fine, but again, we'll check it out on the Kennedy. We'll see how it does, and we'll see how it stacks up. So that's going to be the video. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I encourage you to get out there and check out the other videos on machining, welding, knife making, Fusion 360, a few tool reviews, just everything else going on here in the BladesIIB shop. Love it if you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, drop a comment. Want to hear from you and get your thoughts and ideas on these videos. Let's go ahead, turn the camera around. I'll show you how I've got this mounted, and let's just jump right into getting a little strip put on here and take a look at this new Kennedy toolbox. Let's go. Here's a quick look at the bottom box that came so far. I don't have the top yet, that is not here, but we'll take a look at how this is going to fit. So again, we've got 12.5 inches deep as opposed to the 8 on the other one, and we're a full 26 and about almost 26 and 3/4 wide on the bottom and about 26 and 3/8 on the top, so we'll have a little bit of clearance. So we'll go take a look at what this is going to look like on the bench. But as for the quality, I mean, so far it looks pretty good. All nice rolled edges. It's pretty solid. I did notice that the box itself doesn't sit perfectly flat on the table, so got a little bit of a twist to it. I put it on the floor and kneeled on it, and even doesn't take very much pressure to hold it down flat, and even when I held it down flat, has no impact on the drawers moving, so I don't see that being an issue. Drawers, even on these full width ones, they slide pretty nice. And if we drop some weight in there, put, I don't know, these things are 3 or 4 pounds a piece, so put 6 or 8 pounds in there, and that doesn't seem to impact the drawer slide. This roll of wire is probably 10 or 15 pounds, and I don't know that I'm going to put more than about 15 pounds probably in one of these drawers. This bottom one's going to be my inside mic, some of my larger micrometers in their cases. So functionality, I think, is going to work out perfectly fine. Let's go over to the bench, take a look at where this is going to go, see how that size is going to work. We'll get our strip cut and we'll get that strip screwed onto the bench top and lock this thing in place. And packaging wise, that bottom came, packaged well enough. Wasn't anything too elaborate, just had all these heavy foam pieces on all the corners for the bottom and the top. Had a nice piece of styrofoam across the top. A little bit of foam protecting it from sinking through on the bottom. Wasn't super elaborately packed, but it was well enough. It came here without any damage, any scratches, so happy with that. I'll show a little more detail when I unbox that top piece when that arrives on Monday. So if we take a look at how I mounted this current Beach toolbox on here, you can see I wasted a lot of space around the sides and around the back of here. I've got a full 2 inches of wasted space back here. I wanted to use some tall angle iron. This box is so narrow, I was more concerned about tipping, getting this knocked off. and you know, went with what I had handy at the time. But now that I look at it, a lot of wasted space back here. So we're going to go 12.5 inches wide with this new one. So we're going to be putting this, and it's going to come over to right here at 12.5 inches. And you can see that that is actually less than where the lip currently sticks out on the front of this box. And because that other one is just a little bit taller, I believe that when you have the drawer cover down, it's going to stick out a little bit less. But even still, I mean, I may lose half an inch or an inch of my actual working space on the front of this bench with that new box. So not very much by putting it, you know, that lip all the way at the back here and moving this back. I'm not going to lose any of my workable surface here. And if we take a look at what I'm going to lose on the side, so it's going to be kind of a similar story down the side. We're going to be going to 26 3/4 over to somewhere about there. So I'm really only losing 4 inches in width, not the full 6 inches. I will take this one wide piece of angle iron. I'll move that over and screw that back down to keep it from sliding left to right, but then we'll have a nice lip of aluminum all around the back side of the bench to keep it from going off the back and keep it from going to the other side. Pretty happy with that. I'm going to gain a lot more drawer space without actually losing much of my operating workspace on top of this bench. This is kind of my main roller cabinet. It moves around the shop depending on what machine I'm working on and where I'm working. So I'm always setting things on it, and it's pretty good usable work surface for me, so I didn't want to lose too much of that. All right, let's go ahead and get this box off of here, get this cleaned up, and we'll start working on getting our aluminum strip fabricated and screwed on around the side. All right, I got the bench marked off for where I want this to go. Let's get a nice rounded leading edge on this, and then we'll get some holes put in here and work on getting this strip mounted. All right, I'm just going to round off the first end here to get started, and then we'll get some holes. I'll mount it down the long side, bend it around the corner. Don't know how much material that bend is going to take up. After it comes around, we'll mark it, we'll cut it off to length, and then we'll go ahead and round off that other end over there after we've already got it bent and know exactly where it's going to go to. So I'm just going to take the hacksaw, nip the majority of that off, and then we'll just hit it on the belt grinder and grind that nice curve on there. Bevel the edges a little bit, figure out where we're going to lay out our holes in here. We'll get this first part of the strip mounted. So actually I have a little bandsaw you've probably seen me use, but for this little tiny cut, it takes me longer to vacuum up the mess and all the chips that bandsaw will make. So I'm just going to go ahead and hacksaw the majority of that, hit it on the belt grinder. Keep my mess over here for today. Alright, I'm going to put a fairly coarse belt on here. Put a 60 grit on to get rid of most of that. We'll put a 120 belt on to smooth that out and clean it up a little bit. There we've got a nice rounded edge, bevel on the sides, that should be a nice finish where that meets up with the toolbox. All right, let's lay out and figure out where we're gonna get some holes in here. Get those drilled, countersunk, we'll get it screwed in place, bent around the corner. Just gonna bend it right on the toolbox to make sure we get a nice square, good bend lined up, and then we'll come back over here and round off that other end. All right, so we're looking at 5/8 is our thickness on this top piece. So I want to go 5/16 up from the edge to get those nice and centered. And I want to stay fairly close to the end with my first hole. Make sure that nothing catches on it. So I'm going to come in 1/2 inch for my first hole, up 5/16. So I want to come in 1/2 inch from that other end as well. All right, so coming in 1/2 inch from there and 1/2 inch from there. We'll get those 2 holes laid out and we'll kind of figure out what our spacing is going to be across for the rest of them. I'm thinking about every 3 inches or so, but you know, we'll make sure it's pretty and spaced out nice because that's what we do. So we've got 25 and 5/8 left. All right, so with 25 and 5/8 left, divided by 3, get about 8 screws in there. All right, pretty much 3.2 inches in between should give me almost perfect spacing. So, let's see how that does. That is just about spot on with our spacing. All right, so we're good. So we're about 3 3/16 is what it ended up being, just about perfect across there. Get these marked the rest of the way. Now, while it's flat, before I bend it, I'm gonna go ahead and drill, countersink this set of holes on here, and then after I bend it around, then we'll drill and countersink the other set of holes on there and get it rounded off. Just got some nice little stainless screws, number 6, 3/4 inch. I'm just gonna drill these by hand. I wasn't gonna go throw it in the drill press for this little piece. Drill these by hand, countersink them by hand really quick, and get this ready to go. Alright, so to try to keep this nice and square, I'm going to just bend this right around the bench here. Alright, so to keep this bend as square as possible, I'm just going to bend it right around the bench. I figure that's my best chance at getting it close. Now that I've got that started, I'm going to finish that around a piece of wood here. Alright, I got it in the vise to just tighten up that bend a little bit more in the corner, flattened it out where I had pre-drilled that one hole. Probably should not have drilled that last hole there until after I bent it. That made a little bit of a weak spot, so it wanted to curve a little bit at that hole. But that's all right. I think we tightened it up a little bit there. Might have left a little bit of jaw marks in there. I'll clean those up here in a second. We'll see what it looks like. So actually, the jaw marks in there don't look too bad, just a little bit. I'll rub those out a little bit with some emery, or honestly, I may just leave them so it doesn't change the color all around. And I think that tightened up the bend pretty well. I think what I may do is I'm just going to go in there and round off a little bit of this piece of wood, since that's what it's going to get screwed onto is the wood. So I'm just going to go in there, add a little bit more radius to that so that it'll get sucked in there and get sucked in tight when we put the screws in. But let's get our other holes laid out. Alright, well, with this bend in there in the wall, it's a little too awkward to get in the vise. Can't really get it in the bandsaw, so yeah, we're just left with managing this little bit here by hand. Well, I'm pretty happy with how that bend turned out. No movement on there. It's nice and square, sits flat. So that's good. We got a nice curve on each end. Matches. Fits around there on the curve on our wood. I'll show you what that looks like after we get it screwed in place. But we've got a pretty nice match around our radius there. So we're ready to get the next set of holes laid out on here. Get our last set of holes drilled and we'll get this thing mounted in place. Alright, I blew a little too deep on two of those, so I think I'm going to put a larger screw in there just to make it look better. That'll look nicer. Large screw in those two holes. Alright, get the other oversized screw in and then we're ready to go with all the normal sized. Well, here's how that came out so far. So I think we got a nice straight line down there from our bend. You can see how that came out in the corner there. We cleaned up that radius so it fits pretty tight around the wood. Got that all around the back side. And it's only 1/8 inch, so just barely sticks out there, but all those screws nice and recessed. I think that's gonna work out just perfect. So let's go ahead and get our toolbox in there. And then we still need to put our stop down here at this end. We'll grab one of those angle brackets. We'll put that up down there after we get it in place. All right, let's drop it on and see what it looks like. All right, so because of that bend in the corner, it fits a little tighter to the back. You can see what that's looking like all along the back. We got good, nice, it's all the way up against there. And around here on the corner, you know, it's just a little bit out on this edge, but that's all right. We're gonna put that plate on that other edge to sandwich it in there, and it's not gonna go anywhere. And it's got handles too. I hadn't screwed those on yet, but I'll go ahead and bolt those handles in place. Make it a lot easier to move this thing around with those on. Since I have extras of these, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 of those on there. Keep it from being able to twist, wiggle, really not be able to move around at all without taking those off. We got that locked in place. Let's go ahead and drop that other box back on top and get a true sense of just how much bigger this one really is. Well, there's a good look at what this looks like with my old Beach toolbox on top. Clearly got a lot of extra room over here with that extra pretty much 6 inches. A couple inches out the front, so yeah, I'm pretty excited to get that top piece on there from Kennedy. Significantly more space in the top box, and then adding that bottom riser on there. It's gonna work out all right. And really didn't change how much workspace I have on my bench. We'll see how much the lip sticks out on the top box when it comes in. But even if it comes out a little bit, you know, I didn't lose any workspace down here at all. And I lost minimal, just a couple inches over there with how that looks. Now these are the stacking clips that come with the Kennedy box. So when that top one comes in, it's just got a adhesive on the back. So we'll stick that down in place and then drop that top box on, and that's what's gonna keep the top box from sliding front to back, left to right. Again, this foot wide, I don't think it's gonna be so much the tipping issue that I was concerned about with the narrow box. Obviously this is much less support and rigidity than what I've got with all this aluminum on here. So I think that we've definitely got a nice solid connection to this roller cabinet with what I've got set up on here. And I think that looks pretty nice. Just comes around there on that corner. So we're in good shape. We'll give it another day and I'll get that top box in here, finish up the review on this and show you what this new system looks like when it's complete. All right, last thing we'll do before that top gets here is we'll go ahead and put the handles on this. I don't plan on moving it around a lot, but still, we'll go ahead and get these handles put in place. Like I say, I really should have put these on before I started moving this thing all around. All right, those appear to be threaded holes, so I'm not sure why they give nuts as well. I guess after I get it through, I'll see how far they stick through the inside, and maybe the nut's just a backup to lock it in place. You know, should know better. Always leave them a little loose until you get all 4 screws started. Obviously they have a top and a bottom so that the handle latches going up, but it's pretty easy. The screws are in a different place on the top and the bottom. So let's pull this drawer out now and let's see if we can get in there to put these nuts on the back side. These are nice. They're not like the ones where you had to bend the tabs before. You just spring that out. And once that is sprung out, lets the drawer slide out pretty easy. And just to be clear, it's fully lined on the inside with that extra edge. There is no getting to the back side of those bolts to put the nuts on. So those threaded inserts that are in there is what holds them. I guess maybe the nuts come for a different configuration, or maybe there's some of the other boxes they have where you can get to the inside. But clearly on this one, you do not. That insert is it. So we've got that done. I'll get the other handle on. We'll wait for the top. And to put this drawer back on, I would push past that spring on its own, but maybe not. Much easier with a little screwdriver than your fingernail. Alright, so you definitely have to pull that spring out to assemble it and out to disassemble it. It's not going to just snap over top of that on its own on the way back in. Alright, I'm excited. Top half of this Kennedy box arrived today. Let's go ahead and take a look at how it's packed up inside here, get it out of the box. We'll get it stacked up on top of the other one. We'll get those stacking clips in place, kind of lock it on top from moving around on there. And then we'll open some drawers, check it out, and I'll start moving some tools over. Alright, let's see what we got here. Comes with a first, make sure the box wasn't damaged before you accept it. Of course, I didn't have to sign for it today, but thankfully, that's the worst damage I see on the box, is a couple of crinkles right there. So I'm not too concerned about that. And we get inside here. Kind of like the bottom piece. A pretty good chunk of this thick, like 2.5 inch round foam going all the way around it. Nice solid pieces of foam all the way across the width going over the top. Same thing on the other side. Get the camera over here a little closer and we'll see what we've got here. So clearly packaged up in there pretty nice. I mean, they give it a good couple inches all around. Make sure that that box isn't going to hit anything. And there's our signature series. So we've got the signature on the top there. All right, I've got it around the back side, but that's going to work out well by the time I lift that out of there and carry it over to set it on top of the other one. So I think I'm just going to cut down the front of this box, or the back of the box here, and lift that right out. It's fairly heavy. I think it weighs 69 pounds, so it's not a super light lift to get that out of there. Looks good from there. Let me move this camera and we'll get that lifted out of there and set on top of the other piece. Pretty nice fit on there so far. All right, so we got about 1/4 inch clearance or so down both sides. I'm trying to think of what is my best way to just gently lift that up and slide that under. I think I'm going to go ahead and get the handles put on there first, and that way I can just gently lift up on the handle, keep it from sliding around, and peel off, get one of these set up tight in the corner, set it down, and make sure that I've got them nice and snugged up all the way around. So let's go ahead and get these handles on first. I'm assuming they're up here in the top. All right, looks like we're probably locked. They do give you 4 keys, that's pretty nice. Should be hard to lose all 4 of those. And yes, here's our bag of handles and hardware. Also have some drawer dividers in there. And I'll go get that handle on the other side. I'm happy with that lineup on both sides. So I think I'm just going to go one at a time. Pull the sticky off of this. Lift, hold it in place, and set it down. All right, let's scoot this whole thing back, get to the front of it, and we'll get those two locked on the front side. Well, feels pretty solid on there. Those locking tabs in place. All right, let's take a look inside this box. All right, we got a little phone number in there, who to call. So that front piece still sticks out a little bit, but that is well above my working space down here, so I clearly gained a ton of extra storage space here without really losing any space on my bench. Locks down the same as the other one did. Good fold over lip on the bottom. That's what's catching on the back side there. There we go, just a little dust on the front of these. Looked like they weren't quite matching the other ones, but clearly just some dust on there. A little sticky on that one. That one's nice. Bottom one's just a little sticky, the rest of them seem pretty good. So, out of the whole deal, I'd say these are the two stickiest drawers. Even those aren't bad. I think give it a little time and they'll probably wear in a little bit. But as for size-wise, man, I have gone 6 inches by 4 inches. Just huge upgrade in how much space that I have. I think the quality feels pretty good. Weight-wise, it seems to be a pretty similar kind of build to that Beach that I've had. And that thing has lasted me 30 years, lasted somebody else time before that. So, I've never had the old 30, 40-year-old Kennedys to compare this to, but I think from what I am seeing here right now, I wouldn't hesitate to buy one of these again. I'm pretty happy with it. For me, I think this is a pretty nice upgrade size-wise from the Beach that I had. And my old one's not going to go to waste. I'll put that upstairs on my leatherwork table, and it's going to be a good spot to put some of my leatherwork tools. I had some of those in there before I set this shop back up, so my old Beach will get some good use still as well. But down here in the shop, I'm happy with this. I've already pulled all my old larger micrometers and inside mic and filled this bottom drawer. So I'm going to go ahead and move some other things over into here right now. And I'll come show you a little bit of this filled up before we wrap up this video and just show you how much leftover room I have after I take everything out of my green beach and put it in here. All of this came out of this top drawer of my roller cabinet below. I've already been able to move all of this up here, and I think I'm going to get everything out of my green box and have some leftover drawers. So I'm pretty excited. All right, we'll see you back here in a minute once I get everything loaded up in this one. Hey, one quick tip I'll share already. On the beach, the lid was light enough that it wouldn't push these lock pins down if it was just resting on there. So I used to leave it unlatched, and it would sit up just enough that I could get these two top drawers open. This one is heavy enough that if you try to open those top drawers, they're going to just catch on these pins and you'll start chipping your paint, ripping the paint off of there. So on this box, because that lid weighs a little more, I could either make a little stop, a little kind of a wedge to put in there, or if I just leave this locked, then it looks like it's going to sit right on top of that lock. That way I can keep the lid mostly closed, keep the dust out of my dial indicators and things up on top, and have free access to these drawers without ripping and chipping the paint all off of those. So there's my one thought for you up front before I even start moving anything in here. All right, see you back in a minute. Well, I got it loaded up on the top, and I've got all this extra space up here now with that same set of dials, everything I had up there before. I actually put my machinery's handbook in the drawer, which I didn't have in my toolbox before. With that, I still have lots of extra space in that drawer, all these kind of leftover tool bits. Pretty much filled something up before. All my threading, some punches in there, a couple clamps, stone in that one, a little bit of extra depth. Over here, my 1, 2, and my 25mm mic, depth mic. Just put my calipers in there, which I used to have down below and sort of buried in another drawer. Now it's easy access. Keep those well protected. I've got a couple other little small squares that go in this one. And a bunch of things for the milling machine, so sort of one drawer for milling there. Down in here, I've got some old dividers, just pens, deburring tools, and my machinist square set, and still lots of extra space. That was pretty much filled up before. This was the one bottom drawer. I've got some room in here still, but some lathe, some tools for the machinery, a couple leftover bits. So lots of extra space, pretty much a completely empty drawer there. And it's one of the deeper ones, so I've got lots of space in that one. Down in that bottom piece, I've got my 12-inch vernier, but again, I've got a completely empty drawer there, and I've already moved all those large mics all down in there. So I've got two completely empty drawers, quite a bit of extra space. I've already moved some things in here that I didn't have before, so I would say that is clearly a win going to this Kennedy toolbox combination here with the mid box, the riser there, and then this top box. I've got all the extra space I'm looking for. I'm happy with the quality of it. Again, a little sticky. This is the worst drawer right here. Got a little stickiness, little catch when it wants to close. I'm thinking that that'll probably loosen up a little bit with time, but looks good. I think that fits on the bench nicely. Didn't lose any workspace up on top there. Rolls around with that cabinet, and I gained what I was looking for out of it. Well, YouTube, that's a wrapping another video here in the BladesIIB shop as we got this new Kennedy toolbox in. Went through, kind of reviewed it a little bit, and really compared it to that Beach toolbox that I replaced on here. We got our strip in place to mount it on top of this roll cabinet where I have it. And hey, for me, significant upgrade from what I had before. Loving the extra space, and I think it was worth it. They're pricey, but it's just really hard to find anything else with these small drawers like this. If you're looking for a machinist type toolbox, keep some of your delicate tools in there. And for me, I've had something like this ever since I've been machining over 30 years ago. So I really like the design, and it's a great upgrade for me. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you're new to the channel, I encourage you to check out the other videos on machining, welding, knife making, Fusion 360, just everything else going on here in the BladesIIB shop. If you like the channel, hit that subscribe button. Come back, join us for future videos, and would love it if you drop a like, a comment on here. Love to hear from you. Hey, until next time, I hope you're out in your own shop working on some projects of your own, making some chips of your own. I'll be here in the BladesIIB shop working on that next video. Till next time, y'all take care.